Anthony, crypto is ripping early on here in 2023. Why? Hey everyone, welcome to our latest Traded Black podcast. I am your host, Shad Dales. Thanks for checking in. Listen, we want to talk about macro events, the economy. We want to talk about some trends that are happening here in 2023. If there's anything that we missed, then leave a comment below and let us know what you want us to cover. And we'll make sure to reach out to our thought leaders to get the information that you want. Okay, let's jump into today's podcast. But before we do that, all views of the Traded Black podcast and the guests on this podcast are purely opinion. You should not treat any opinions expressed by us or our guests as investment advice. And the views on this podcast are solely intended to be informational and are not investment advice. All right, let's welcome in our lead financial writer, Benjamin A. Smith. Ben, good day. How are things?
Things are very well. Very well. What can I say?
Yes. Well, that's all you could say. NFL playoffs, baby. Don't fumble the ball at the 1-inch line. Otherwise, it could change everything. Anthony Verrill, millennial entrepreneur. Good to see you, sir. How's things?
Good. Today, it's a holiday down in the States for MLK Day. Had
nice.
A great speech from Joe Biden earlier.
How was that?
On the holiday. It was good. He actually called out Martin Luther King's wife and then forgot her name mid-speech. So it's just indicative of the normal clown show that's going on. It literally was like something Michael Scott would have said from The Office. Aside from that, it was good. The playoffs were good yesterday. Dolphins, people thought they didn't have a chance in hell. They almost won.
What was that? Like, honestly,
what was that? These are these guys are professional athletes. I really do believe in like the whole any given Sunday thing. The Dolphins defense showed up. Josh Allen made some mistakes and they capitalized.
Yeah.
And I mean, they scored a couple of touchdowns. If Tua was in the game, I hate to be that guy, but like Tua's playing, we beat them yesterday.
What's the background on this backup quarterback that played decent with them yesterday? But they
he's
were
not
down.
the backup. He's the third string.
Third string quarterback.
He's a third string quarterback. He was the second to last drafted quarterback last year. I mean, he sucks.
Yeah.
They were going back and watching the footage after the game. Like you could see Tyreek Hill running around wide fucking open and just he's dumping the ball off. I mean, you can't blame the kid.
One thing's for sure, though. I think the Bills ever since the Vikings game, like back in what was that, November, they just look vulnerable. I just don't.
They're not that good.
I think they're overrated. The Bengals.
No, I was hating that game. I had a $600 teaser to win $1,600. All the Bills had to do was win by 6.5 or by 7, and they couldn't even cover. And I was pulling my hair out, going, "What are you doing? Like throwing the ball when they're up 17-0? They're throwing the ball deep instead of running it. They just had a couple big long runs, and like I don't understand how they made this close.
I mean, Josh Allen threw some dimes. Like every time that they needed him to make a throw, he made the throw.
Yeah, I
with
guess
the exception of those 2 picks.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's just, I guess, discipline. But I don't know. But
he's always making the key mistake. That's the one, thing apprehension I'd have about the Bills in the playoffs is they're still winning, but like the Minnesota game at home, in which they lost in OT. Josh Allen always seems to be making these like crazy mistakes in the red zone. Where
I know.
NFL and interception.
But then he throws a 90-yard bomb right on the button, hitting the receiver, hitting Stephon Diggs in stride for a touchdown.
So Atlanta is going to be
the next play.
If they play the Chiefs and Bills, Atlanta is the venue for the AFC Championship game.
The Chiefs and Bills.
Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah. I don't think the Bills beat Cincinnati this week.
That's interesting.
I think the Bengals,
Obviously,
I think the
unfortunate.
Bengals beat the Bills.
Yeah, unfortunate what happened to DeMar Hamlin, but if that game gets played out, this is just me, but I think the Bengals are beating the Bills in that Monday nighter.
Yeah.
They look good.
Some injuries too in that game, so that's going to be something to watch on the injury report.
I think they definitely are. I mean, the problem with not to get too sidetracked on football, but I mean, I think the problem with the Bills, or not the Bills, the Bengals right now is their O-line is scratched.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, they were protecting the shit out of Burrow for the past 6 weeks, and then they had 2 O-linemen go down, and I mean, he was getting clobbered yesterday by Baltimore.
Yeah.
Baltimore looked good.
Baltimore's a good team. I mean, Baltimore's a great team.
I thought Huntley played well. They don't fumble that ball. Completely different game.
Yeah.
And then basically everybody's football pools are thrown out the window because nobody picked Baltimore in that game. At least I didn't. Let's get into it. Like right now, here we are, first 2 weeks of 2023, and this shocks me to think that the crypto industry is absolutely ripping right now. Bitcoin plowed through 21,000. Ethereum's up over 1,500. Based on everything that happened like prior to Christmas, why do you think we're seeing such a resurgence early on here, Anthony?
I mean, I don't think people know where to put money to find yield. I don't think people trust the stock market right now. And I mean, I think people want to get delevered from the dollar, which is why, I mean, people are putting money in crypto. I mean, you had Bitcoin, like you said, it blew past 21,000. It's come back to earth. It's around 20, sub 20, or not sub 20. It's a little over 20 right now. I mean, Ethereum has been hanging out in the 1,500 range. Solana's gone from $9 to 24 in the past couple of weeks. And I mean, the whole industry is trending to the upside, NFTs included. I mean, a lot of people, I think are thinking it's a bull trap. That seems to be the general thesis out there. But I mean, we'll see really what happens and how it persists moving forward.
Bull trap. What does that mean, Ben?
A bull trap is basically when the market looks like it's trending up, usually after a prolonged period of weakness, and then the market looks like it's going to break up, and a lot of people get caught offside. They end up buying the move, and they think things are going to break out, and all of a sudden it goes up to a level or to resistance or maybe a little bit above, and then all of a sudden it crashes back down to a floor or down to new lows. So I think a lot of people are thinking that, just to sort of piggyback off what Anthony said. I think a lot of people are looking for beaten up assets to get into at the start of the year. And it's not just exclusive to crypto. Crypto went down from like 65,000 area all the way down to 16,000. I mean, that's like a 75% move, right? So even a jump back to the 21,000, which is pretty strong resistance, by the way. That's only about 12% give back or whatever, or retrace, or 15% retrace. So it's not a big move in the wider context. So, there are a lot of sectors moving right now. Leisure stocks, for example, are moving. The cruise ships, Royal Caribbean and so forth are up like 40% on the year. So it's not just crypto that's moving. Wow. There's a few sectors moving. And I think a lot of people are just, buying low in anticipation of more fragile regulations, which are anticipated to move the cryptos again.
Do you agree with that, Anthony?
Yeah, I mean, I think I agree completely. I mean, I'd be lying if I said it didn't scare me a little bit. The fact that you're seeing like cruises, AMC, crypto starting to gain legs again. I mean, I don't know if that's good or bad, especially in the current macro environment. And the fact
why do you say
rates
that?
Because rates haven't changed. I mean, inflation's coming down a bit, but the macro environment's still pretty bad. I mean, we're going to see corporate earnings here shortly. The banks missed last week. I mean, I hate to see what's going to happen to the tech stocks. And I mean, if the NASDAQ starts to roll over, I don't think that crypto is going to be able to maintain this rally. It's going to lose its footing and it's going to drop. Me personally, I'm not chasing this right now. I'm cautiously optimistic. I think if it sits around here in these levels and there's some positive news, or they start to talk about, they're going to drop rates going into the back half of the year, I'll start to deploy capital. But I mean, like I said a couple of times, I'd rather miss the first 20 to 30% to the upside than get trapped in here and then just watch it drop.
Anthony, I'm with you on that too. And I explained on the last program or the program previous that even if you believe that the Federal Reserve is going to lower rates, which a lot of people do, and that the end of the cycle is near, and that they might lower rates, say in the third or fourth quarter of this year, traditionally stocks actually go down, equities go down during that time period, because it means the economy is really bad, right? The effect of the interest rates lowering, that takes weeks and months to really kick in, right? It's not going to, if the Fed lowers rates from like 5 to say 3% over the next 2 months, it's not going to have that liquidity effect. It's not going to happen right away. I think you want to wait. And I think a lot of people are calling this market, just equities in general, not just crypto, but sort of like a bull trap potentially, because we haven't seen really the effects of the rise in interest rates. They're all lagging effects. So I'm with you here, Anthony. I think the best play is to perhaps wait and see and not really chase anything, because I think the market is not really cheap on a historical level. We're still trading at like 17, 18 times price to earnings on the S&P. And crypto sort of follows equities, or at least it has been over the past year.
Yeah, there's this picture that keeps floating around on Twitter where it's a graph of 2008 with the market and then the drop. And then it's like, you are here, and we're basically where we were before the giant drop. after 2008. Not saying that there's going to be a 2008 event. I mean, I don't really think there's going to be unless there's a currency crisis. But I mean, I'm not confident in anything in the macro.
I mean, what are the highs on the Dow? It's like what, 36,000, 36.5. Yeah. We're at like almost 33,000. I mean, we're not. Yeah. We haven't on an aggregate. I know you can't really base everything on aggregate, but I mean that is not a big move to the downside. We haven't really even had or seen the full impacts of a recession yet. And while it may be mild, it may not also not be, right? So, you know, you got to be very careful here. I think you include crypto with that because it's not really a store of value like a gold or something where it's going to hold up in very unsettling times. I think it's going to follow basically the move of equities. At least
think
right
Bitcoin. Now. I think Bitcoin is more increasingly being seen as a store of value.
But it hasn't been historically, though.
Such as the gold. No, it hasn't historically. But it also hasn't been around that long. I mean, I really think that shit's going to get fucked up here pretty shortly. In terms of the consumer, in terms of corporate earnings, in terms of
what do you mean by that? What do you mean by that when you say
people? I mean, inflation's still around. I mean, I'm paying. So I usually. I mean, this probably sounds like a prick thing to say, but I usually don't pay attention to prices when I'm shopping for shit at the grocery store. I just go there, I get what I need, and I leave. And
you're paying attention now.
I'm not paying attention, but I'm noticing how high things are getting. Like, I buy this bag of mixed berries every week, frozen. They were $10 8 months ago. They're $16.50 right now.
A lot.
Yeah. I mean, eggs are $10 a carton.
Yeah,
that's
100 grand in eggs a year ago, and you'd have over $1 million worth now.
Yeah. I mean, I just don't think things are going to get better anytime soon. I think if anything, they're going to get worse, especially if the real estate market rolls over. Which, if rates drop from 5 to 3, that would alleviate some stress there. But I mean, I don't really think that you're going to get a drop like that anytime soon.
Do you think?
So what is the real estate market looking like in Florida? Is it
going up?
Still robust? Yeah.
It's frozen. I mean, it's kind of locked up, but now people are just, everyone's like me. They bought a pretty good asset 2.5 years ago at a sub 3 rate, and they're not fucking leaving. I'm not selling my house so I can go get a mortgage at 7 points for something that's twice the price. I mean, I'll just wait it out. And I mean, everyone's doing that, but there's still a ton of people coming here. But like in my neighborhood, like there's new construction everywhere. For instance, there's 2 townhouses
all over the country.
Canada, New York, California, not really Texas, most of the blue states, and then mostly abroad. But they are still coming. And I mean, on a relative basis, I mean, it's pretty cheap. I mean, for instance, there's 2 townhouses that just got built down the street from me. They're listed right now for $1.56 million each. They are 2,700 square feet. So if you were to look it's brand new construction. So if you were to look in like say it's a lot of money for South Florida. It's a lot of money. It's insane amount of money anywhere else.
That's a big townhome, right?
Yeah. But I mean, if you're coming from New York or San Francisco, I mean, New York, that's a $10 million townhome. In a right neighborhood, and in San Francisco, I mean, it's probably anywhere between 3 and 5,
bingo,
downtown, etc. So it's on a relative basis, it's still very cheap.
Yeah, it's interesting to see how this whole workforce environment's going to be. You know, as much as a lot of companies and even mayors of cities are mandating people to get back to the office, that's 5-day work week at the office. That's not coming back. I don't know what the healthy balance will be, but to your point, it's just like. It's the suburbs that actually are, that are going to excel, but it's the other communities that are an hour, 2 hours outside of major cities that I think will be hot markets for the next few years. Because if you are far enough to feel like you're not connected to all that conglomerate, concrete, whatever, but at the same time connected enough to be there and back in the same day, I don't see people going to the office more than 2-3 days a week.
I don't think there's anything wrong with going back to the office, to be honest. Like, I fucking hate working from home. Working from home sucks.
Would you want to go back every day, though?
No, but I'd go back 3 or 4 days a week.
Yeah.
100%. You get more done. There's, like, work, like, whether you're working a 9 to 5, whether you're working at a startup, whatever, like, there's collaboration that goes on with being in an office. Like, there isn't that collaboration or that brainstorming or like innovation, that's ideas being floated around that's taking place. Like, I think working from home is a crock of shit. Like, yeah, people like it. Yeah, people are comfortable. But the ones that really are like fighting for it and like need it, like they're like cogs in the wheel. They're not any of the people that are catapulting these businesses forward. They're all sales reps and they're all like ops people and people that they do one function, they just do that function repetitively, and they do it well. I think people in the biz dev departments of companies, people in the corporate development departments of companies, marketing, those people need to be in an office environment. Like there are net positives to there being work being done in an office.
It's funny because if you talk to Gen Xers like myself and Ben, I probably have that same thought of like wanting to be at the office, like, all the time. But I'm so not for that. Like, I definitely don't feel the need to go to the office every single day. But do you find a lot of millennials are thinking the same way? They'd like to be in an office environment, or they'd like the remote idea? Because I would think it would be remote.
I mean, most people that I know that have an entrepreneurial mindset are pro-office, not pro-work from home. Most of my friends that I know that own their own businesses, they're pro-office. They're not pro-work from home. I think it needs to be flexible. I think you need to have the option for 3 or 4 days a week to be put to go back to the office. I mean, I do think that if I had a large workforce right now at my company, we would have an office and people would need to be there 3 days a week. You make it optional, but there's collaborative things that are going to happen. There's different functions that are going to happen, like in person, like at the office. And if you're really there to grow the business and really grow and innovate, like, you need to be there. Like,
depends on the role, depends on the person. Yeah,
it all depends.
Everybody's different.
If you're HR, you're ops, or you're lower level marketing, lower level sales, sales discovery roles, like just dialing for dollars, like, sure, stay home.
Yeah.
You don't need to be there. But if you're higher level, like corp dev or higher level marketing or C-suite, someone up in that's actually making decisions. Yeah. I mean, I think it's gonna be a net positive to be in an office.
Yeah. Ben, you brought up before, like the equities market, very, we haven't even seen a touch on recession yet. You actually speak to a lot of people on Reddit and on different groups. What do you think are major questions that you're seeing online about some of the questions that people are asking early on here in 2023 pertaining to the markets?
I think just people want to know what sectors are going to move so they can get a good position built in something and get a little bit of cushion on a good position, right? I don't see a lot of people asking about, is the economy going to turn over? Are we going into recession? I mean, there are people who do, but most of the trader forums, I think people are just, focused on getting a good position, staking money in the right stocks or cryptos or whatever at the start of the year, so they can build in a position and then decide, what course of action to take from there. If the economy looks like it's going to be something shallow and it holds up, and who knows, maybe the market surprises everyone and we melt up to new highs, right? It's so hard to tell nowadays because the markets are kind of their own animal, right? They don't necessarily act the way they used to. So most of the focus is on what
through our network last week. I don't know how much truth there is to this, but some people indicating that we could see the Ukrainian war end, let's say towards the end of Q1, early parts of Q2. I don't know how much truth there is involved in that, but if that were the case, if the Ukrainian war were to end, let's say April or May, how does that economy, how does it rebound if that indeed does happen?
I don't think it really makes a difference personally.
It makes no fucking difference.
No, it doesn't make a difference because the supply side issues and supply chain are mostly coming out of China, right? And they had that zero COVID policy for a long time, so that means people couldn't work. The well publicized issues on Foxconn, we had thousands of workers getting locked in and stuff like that. That was really where the bottlenecks were coming from. The ports of China, the manufacturing centers in China, and not really so much of Ukraine, right? In fact, all the natural gas issues that go into the manufacturing, that's important. I think natural gas prices are at 24-month lows, back to the old COVID lows, because it's been a warm winter. So I don't see a big impact in the actual economy.
We got real lucky in that regard. But I mean, I don't think so. Okay, so let's say whoever told you that is right. The war ends miraculously in April or May.
The Ukrainian war.
Ukrainian war, yeah. You think McDonald's is going to go back right away? You think Nike's going to go back right away?
No.
You think they're going to start trading all of the Russian stocks? Nothing's going to happen. I mean, this is just my opinion. Nothing's going to happen in Russia until Putin is gone, either dead or ostracized. There's a new leader in place, and you see a progressive movement going through the country of Russia. Like, Russia just fucking invaded Ukraine in an all-out ground war. Like, if the pandemic didn't happen and we were probably in a stronger position, we'd probably be in there right now with troops in a hot war. That war just stopping, I don't think does anything to the macro, to the economy, or just to any of the markets moving forward. Sure, we'll sleep better at night knowing that there's not going to be a nuke tossed into Ukraine at some point. But economically, like, Russia's pretty much ostracized itself from the world, the global economy until Putin's gone.
I don't even see the war ending at all, because I think if you look at the Western powers, if I can just put on my macro political hat for a second, I think they don't like Russia for a lot of various reasons, which go beyond the scope of this conversation, right? I mean, they edged NATO right to their borders. They did a whole bunch of things to antagonize Russia, and that's not to say that Russia isn't to blame and that they weren't aggressive and all that, but I think a lot of it was because NATO and Western countries basically, they funded, a revolution there that had a pro-Russian government in Ukraine in 2014, and they pushed NATO right up to their borders, right? And so, Russia, rightly or wrongly, was forced to act, and I don't see them just pulling away. I don't see either side just pulling away and just being, okay, yeah, whatever, and going back to the status quo. I think, there's got to be some resolution one way or the other.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I don't agree with what Putin did, but I don't think he was wrong. I mean, you're right. NATO was going to park right on his border. I mean, you get China or Russia going into Mexico and parking on the U.S.'s border. What the fuck do you think we're going to do? We're going in there guns blazing. Yeah.
You're going to put Patriot missiles in Tijuana, and U.S. is not going to react and blow that up or whatever. Take action. I don't think so. Same sort of dynamics, right?
Yeah, China, Russia goes into Mexico, goes into Canada. We're going in guns blazing. Yeah, like that day. Like that's.
Last thing I might add, though, is this is not a pro-Russian podcast by any means. Obviously, he's a thug and all that on both sides. I try to look at things from both sides and not, just from the perspective of, Western media necessarily, right? And I think there's some blame on both sides.
Yeah, I mean, Ukraine's a U.S. outpost. I mean, it is.
Yeah, 100%. So. Let me ask you a question, macro. Political hat time, Ben. What do you think happens to Vladimir Putin?
Wow, that's a really interesting and encompassing question. I really don't know. I think there's a lot of people in the Western levers of power that wish him to not be in that position, and maybe perhaps influence the next leader to take his position. I really don't know. I don't know how strong Russia is to be able to protect him. I don't know. It's an impossible question to ask. But what I can say is that they definitely would like another leader if at all possible. And if they do have the chance to somehow get him out through, use your imagination about what method, they will try.
You're shaking your head, Anthony. What do you mean by that?
He's not leaving. No, that man is not leaving. You're fucking crazy if you think that they're gonna take him out of the premiership of Russia. He's not going anywhere.
Not leaving. Okay.
No, I think that even if the war ceases tomorrow, he's going to live out the rest of his days as the leader of Russia. Might not be long. Might be 6 months. Might be 2 years. But I think he's going to, as long as that man's breathing, he will be the leader of Russia.
I think he has support within his country too. I think it would be a maneuver on, the intelligence fronts or whatever, if that's even possible. I don't know if Russia is too powerful for that, but I think it would come from that and not domestically.
Yeah.
No. Yeah.
All right, let's change the topic. Don't look now, but you guys still following Canadian cannabis stocks? Like, that's almost a conversation that seems like it was taking place 5 years ago. But don't look now. They're ripping. When I look at year-to-date, Hexo up 45%, Aurora's up 12%, Canopy 13%, Organigram's up 24%, Tilray up 18%, and Village Farms up 15%. What gives? Why do you think there's such an interest and how these stocks have been performing early on, Anthony?
It's access. That's it. I mean, I really think that money has nowhere else to go. And, well, money has nowhere else to go across the cannabis spectrum. These names happen to all be listed. Most of them happen to have some sort of European or U.S. exposure at this point. And money managers from an institutional level and from a wealth management perspective, they can actually deploy capital into them. It's like I've said many, many times. Canopy trades as a proxy for the U.S.
Yeah,
I firmly believe that if the MSOs were listed on these major exchanges, just like the Canadians are, you'd be seeing double these numbers in the U.S. names. This is just a function of timing. I don't know why Hexo is up 45% in the past 2 weeks. I mean, I looked at my screen I think it was last Thursday, and Hexo was up 23%. I thought to myself, I was like, what the fuck is going on? But I think it's just access. It's not nothing more than that.
Anthony's
Ben, you agree with that?
right. Anthony's 100% right. As it has been with other rallies as well, it's simply a function of liquidity, right?
Yeah.
They trade on major U.S. exchanges, and people want to get into cannabis. They want cannabis exposure. They can't even get into the top MSOs like Curaleaf, right? Because on the Canadian exchanges, or even on the OTC exchanges, which don't do that much more, or might do double the volume, we're still talking like 300,000-400,000 shares a day on average, right? So that's not really enough. Hexo, even though it shouldn't be on Curaleaf's level, is doing what? 3 or 4 million shares a day, right? So it's simply a byproduct of liquidity, and it's going to keep doing this as long as the MSOs trade on Canadian listings, and there's no there's no major U.S. exchanges that they list on.
Yeah. Canadian surplus, price per grams dropped from like $7 from a couple years ago, now down to $3. How do you see, like, a lot of rumors going around, there's not going to be too many players left in this industry by the time the dust settles. But how do you see the whole Canadian market developing over the next 12 to 24 months, Ben?
I think it's more of the same, right? Perhaps you might have some, slowdown in the price compression on the wholesale level, which is, it might not go too much below $3 a gram. I think some of the excess capacity is gradually being filtered out. We saw it with the Tilray earnings, actually, where Irwin Simon basically said that excess capacity, they're going to look to fill that with vegetable produce in their greenhouses, because they have too much capacity and they built out too much, right? So that's going to take some time, but as you decrease the excess capacity, you're going to see a decrease in the price compression, and hopefully, a decrease in the prices of vegetables in the grocery store.
Yeah, I see a smirk on your face, Anthony.
I give up. I give up. So you're telling me now that these cannabis companies that grossly overbuilt and grossly just wasted money over the past 5 years, they retrofitted vegetable facilities into cannabis facilities, and now, due to the lack of demand, are now going to take those cannabis facilities that were once vegetable facilities and make them back into vegetable facilities?
That is exactly what I'm telling you. Yes. It's almost like everything has come full circle, right?
I mean, it's almost...
Big facilities were being transferred, and now they're being transferred back, or actually or abandoned altogether, as we saw with Aurora at Edmonton, right? Aurora Sky.
I'm almost willing to say that I wouldn't deploy capital in any cannabis company that gets on a phone call and tells me that they're going to use their excess capacity to grow vegetables.
100%.
Yeah.
And listen, I might add too that one of the biggest issues that I think U.S. MSOs, we talked about it a little bit last week, is we need federal legalization just to create national brands, right?
Yeah,
national brands are important because you have the same, even though it's federally legal in Canada, you have a lot of fragmentation, right? Where the top selling brand in BC is a lot different than the top selling brand in Ontario. And that's because you have so many restrictions on advertising, right? You can't do anything in the store. You can't do anything at the OSC or whatever. So there's a fragment. You don't have a national profile of any of these brands.
Yeah, I mean, it's much different here. You go to Las Vegas and everything is cannabis advertising. It's gone from strip clubs to cannabis advertising.
Yep.
Every taxi cab, every billboard, everything on the Vegas Strip, out of home, is 95% cannabis advertising. It's crazy. Everything is MedMen, churches, Planet 13.
Curaleaf.
It's Curaleaf. It's all over everything.
However, there is no national brand. Right? It's all local.
Talking about, well, at least they can advertise.
That's true.
Talking about Curaleaf, though, I mean, something that I think I saw a story about it a week ago, which I don't know if it was true or not, but it was that people uncovered that one of Roman Abramovich's companies was actually the seed capital for Curaleaf.
I saw that.
I saw it too, but no one talked about it. Yeah, he's the Russian oligarch that was forced to sell Chelsea.
Mm-hmm. That's kind of gone.
What's your takeaway from that?
I mean, if it's true, then that means that the theories behind Curaleaf of the dirty Russian money starting it have always been true. Do I think about them any less of a company? No. I mean, I believe in capitalism. I'm sure as hell not selling my Curaleaf shares just because they got funded by the wrong the wrong guy. I don't think it's a condemnation on the company whatsoever. I'll gladly buy more Curaleaf stock tomorrow. But it did kind of fall on deaf ears and didn't get any traction, which I thought was kind of funny.
Mm-hmm. It's a good point.
Well, except for a few antagonists on Twitter. You always have, it doesn't matter what company, how good you are, how you
present. That's something.
There's always.
But that's something CNBC. That's something CNBC would pick up. Like Roman Abramovich doesn't fuck around. Like he's like the number 2 or 3 guy for Putin.
Yeah, the story was brought up and didn't really gain much traction, did it?
No, and it was like proven. It was like his LLC funded Curaleaf.
Yeah, we'll probably get it. We'll probably get a call in 24 to 48 hours too.
I mean, like I said, I don't think it's a condemnation on Curaleaf. Like, I don't care really where you get your money. Like, I invested in a legal licensed entity, but it didn't. It just fell on deaf ears.
I haven't followed it too closely, but have you guys done any research on why this whole Trulieve Harvest One deal might be falling through?
You mean Trulieve and Harvest?
Excuse me, Trulieve and Harvest, sorry.
I haven't seen anything on that.
Have you been?
Are you sure you're not talking about the Cresco Columbia Care?
Cresco Columbia Care.
Trulieve and Harvest is closed.
They already bought.
Apologies, but that deal supposedly is potentially falling through. Have you heard anything pertaining to that?
We had an article that we put up courtesy of with our affiliation with Benzinga. They had interesting words on Pablo Zuanich, which is the Cantor analyst, very famous in the industry. He still thinks the deal is going to go through. It still has around, at the current exchange ratio, about 35% premium that can be had on the arbitrage by buying Columbia Care. If it closes at Cresco prices, you should, in theory, gain about 35% as of last week prices, end of last week. So I have no reason to think that it doesn't. I do believe that there is a date, I think, in the covenants, and that might be at the end of March, but don't quote me on that. So I would say if it goes beyond the end of March, maybe I'd start to get a little bit more concerned. And some people think that it may not close because the share prices have decreased so much. But then again, so has the Columbia Care share price. So it's all relative, right?
Yeah.
But
so that's why it's not antitrust or anything.
No, it's not antitrust. Not from my understanding.
Okay.
All right. So wrapping this all up, big takeaways. Any closing statements that you want to say, Anthony, pertaining to the market, or big takeaways for people watching this? What would it be?
Don't rush into crypto. Don't get caught with your pants down rushing in and thinking that this is going to go back to 60,000 and 4,800 respectively. Tread very lightly with caution.
Ben, your big takeaway?
I'm with Anthony 1,000,000%, and I would actually go beyond that and say, don't rush into the markets in general. Just because I know the charts, I am a historical. I keep a good track on historical charts, and of course, it could be different this time. But I think that there's a lag between Fed liquidity coming into the market and the lowering of the interest rates. So that's going to take weeks, if not 3 or 4 months, to filter through. So you don't want to be caught here, even if they are lowering rates, and they wouldn't even be doing so until the end of the year anyway. So let the recession play out. If you feel comfortable at a level, buy. That's fine, but I would be defensive on my purchases, and I wouldn't be chasing just about anything up.
Okay. All right. Wildcard weekend's just about done. By the time we post this, we'll know the winner of the Bucks-Cowboys game. But I'm still going with my 49ers as the Super Bowl champs.
I gotta say, actually, after this weekend, Brock Purdy's the real deal.
I don't get it, man, but he's the real deal.
What do you mean? It's another time. I mean, I don't want to. I mean, I'm gonna get fucking killed for this, but I mean,
You are going to get killed. I know where you're going with this. You sure you want to go down that road?
Yeah. Storyline. This is how Tom Brady's story started. Like,
was he the last draft pick in the entire draft?
No. He was a sixth round pick. But I mean, Brady.
Purdy was. Oh, Brady was. Or
no,
Purdy?
Brady was. Brady was a sixth round pick. Purdy was literally.
He was the last.
Purdy was literally Mr. Irrelevant, last pick of the draft. But I mean, Brady got kind of thrown into it. I don't think he won a Super Bowl his first starting year, but no one expected it. No one had any expectations. Like, he wasn't a big flashy name. He just got the opportunity, and look what happened. Purdy happened to get the opportunity. The guy threw for what? 340 yards, 3 touchdowns, no picks. Granted, he's got a ton of weapons and probably the best defense in the playoffs. But at the same time, like, he's not a game manager. The kid can throw the ball, and the kid can win games.
Yeah. Oh, can I tell you something?
I don't know what's going to happen in San Fran because you got Trey Lance. But I would almost say you trade Trey Lance and you keep him, judging by the very small body of work that you've seen so far, because you got to play the kid.
So for anyone Googling this right now, yes, Tom Brady did win a Super Bowl as a rookie.
He did
in 2001
okay.
against the Patriots.
So I'm not too far off as far as the Tom Brady storyline developing. Okay, I was mostly just meaning in terms of unproven.
Okay, the biggest question is what happens to and what do you make of Trevor Lawrence? Because I called the Jags last week. Shad knows this. I texted him. I made actually fairly large wagers on that aspect, in which I lost because I hedged because he was so bad in the first half. He threw 4 picks. There was a fumble. I had to hedge, and of course that hedge lost when the Chargers came back, and they ended up losing the game. And he played fantastic.
Trevor Lawrence is the real deal.
You think?
Yeah. I mean, the major difference to me in athletes at that level, all those guys pretty much have the same athletic ability. It's mental. Can you forget? Do you have a short memory? And can you turn it around quickly? He did that. I also think though the Chargers coach should be fucking fired.
Yeah, he will be. But that first
fired and out the door.
That first half was all nerves. People can't probably see this at home, but that's a 14 parlay, $1,000. Pays out $3,700. I had the Bengals, Bills, Niners. I'm picking the Bucks tonight over the Cowboys. So
Cowboys are going to win.
Bucks.
What app is that?
Well, if the Bucks win, it's just a straight up money line.
No, what app are you putting the bets in through?
Score Bet.
No, Score sponsor.
And Bet99.
Yeah. So.
Okay. I appreciate the update, gents. Let's keep in touch, and we'll follow up with you later this week.
Cool.
Sounds good. Thanks, guys.
Hey, everyone. Thanks for watching. 2023 is here, and right now, a lot of uncertainty pertaining to the markets, especially new emerging industries like crypto, cannabis, psychedelics, and more. So leave a comment below and let us know who you want us to interview. What are the questions that you want asked? And most importantly, what's the information that you want to learn? Once we produce these videos, then share this to your network, subscribe to our channel, and click on that bell for all notifications, because we would not be here without you. Thanks for watching, everyone.